Hi, everybody. This is your Week 7 lecture. It's about The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. That's your reading assignment this week. Well, you're reading the first half of it this week. I'm sorry if you can hear this super annoying chirping sound in the background. There's a red-winged blackbird that's taken up residence in my backyard, and it sometimes makes pretty noises, and sometimes it just makes loud chirping noises nonstop for the entire day. So, anyway, here's a little bit of background and context for this book. Ursula K. Le Guin was a famous sci-fi writer, and she, in her later years at least, lived in Portland, and she was well known around the Northwest, but also all over the world. She wasn't just locally famous. She wrote quite a few sci-fi novels and works of speculative fiction, and this is one of her better known ones, The Left Hand of Darkness. And she also is famous for a book called The Dispossessed, which I'm going to try to read this summer. A friend recommended it to me a while ago, and it's been on my list. If you're into sci-fi and you like this one, you might check that out. I think it's about a utopian society where there aren't any private possessions, to the point where the inhabitants of the world that the book takes place in are even discouraged from using possessive pronouns. Of course, that piqued my interest because I'm a grammar nerd. Anyway, this book is about a fictional world where there's no gender. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the book just seemed perfect for the class. It seemed like a slam dunk. I read it for the first time about 15 or 20 years ago and thought it was cool. I mean, it's not easy reading necessarily, which you might notice if you've started to dip your toe in the water a bit, so to speak. But I think it's worthwhile. I think it's a good book for the class. So this is a feminist work of fiction. It's a feminist work of science fiction. It was first published in 1969. It won a bunch of sci-fi prizes. It won a Nebula Award. It won a Hugo Award. Those are big deal awards in the sci-fi fantasy world. And it explores the issue of androgyny like in a groundbreaking way. Other sci-fi novels hadn't really done what this novel did when it did it in 1969. So basically, this book imagines a world where there's this kind of alien society and there's no inherent sex. So the people in the world can become one sex or another depending on the context and the situation. I'll tell more about that in a little bit. Oh, I was going to mention, I'm skipping around a little bit here. Ursula K. Le Guin actually came to Aberdeen one time. This was quite a while ago. I want to say it was, I don't know, the beginning of my career. So it was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. It was quite a while ago. She came to Aberdeen High School and spoke in the auditorium. I got to go see her speak, and it was just delightful and super exciting. I don't know, I just felt like I needed to throw that in there because I like to name drop, I guess. So, more about the novel. It's set in the distant future, and it's set in this fictional Hainish universe. A lot of Le Guin's other novels are set in this same like fictional universe, and it's like kind of like our universe but different. So the history of the universe is different, and the future of it is, well, who knows what the future is going to be like, but it takes place far in the future. The books that are set in this universe. And basically, in this universe, Le Guin is imagining like a fictional history for the Earth, and then what the future will look like as a result of that. So she's imagining that humanity began on this planet called Hain, and then the inhabitants of this planet, who are human, colonized other planets, including Earth, which in the Hainish universe is known as Terra. So when you hear that the main character of this novel is from Terra, or he's Terran, that basically means he's an Earthling. He's a human from Earth. But like, I think the book calls the world Terra to kind of show that it's Earth, but it's not Earth, because this is a fictional, like, alternate universe. It's kind of cool. So also, there's this other planet called Gethin that's in the novel, and the people have colonized that planet too. So in this imaginary universe, there are a whole bunch of worlds that have been colonized by humanity, and at least 83 of them are in this like intergalactic league. Galactic League? Intergalactic League? A league of planets. I just started to get confused about language there for a second. A league of planets, which in the novels is called Ecumen. At least in this novel, it's called Ecumen. I think it's called different things in different, Hainish novels by Le Guin. So it's this league of 83 worlds, and they share some laws. So they're all kind of like agreeing to abide by these same rules, and they've all come into contact with each other and explored each other's worlds and things like that. So basically, what happened was after humanity colonized all these other planets, then humanity like lost touch. So the planets all kind of over time lost touch with each other and sort of forgot about each other and weren't in contact anymore. And I don't think this is really explained in any of her books. It just sort of happened. But then eventually they get back together and they start to like explore each other's worlds, and they form this galactic league called Ecumen. And if you've heard the word ecumenical before, I think her choice of the word ecumen is intentional. Ecumenical means like, well, there's a definition of it there. According to Merriam-Webster, it can mean of or relating to or representing the whole of a body of churches, or it can mean promoting or tending toward worldwide Christian unity or cooperation. So there's this same sense of all of these worlds kind of cooperating together, but there are religious overtones to the word. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, the main character in this novel is named, I believe it's pronounced Genly I. I haven't actually ever heard it said. If Le Guin did say his name, I heard her say it 15 years ago or so, and I don't remember it very well. But anyway, it's either Genly or Genly. I'm just going to go with Genly because I think it sounds nicer for some reason. He's from Terra, so he's an Earthling. But he's been sent to this planet called Gethin, which is also known as Winter. And oh, did I make a grammatical error there or a typo? But who has been sent to Gethin/Winter, go get the planet. Okay, so I skipped a word there. To go get the planet to join Ecumen. Basically, he's been sent by his world to go to this world called Gethin to try to get Gethin to join the this league of worlds, to try to get them on board and like make contact with them and make friends with them, basically. So he has to go like win them over and get them to join this league. And Gethin, which is also known as Winter, is this planet where people have colonized. They've been there for a long time, and they've sort of evolved in such a way that there aren't male or female humans. They're all like, they lack sex, basically, and they lack gender, except there's this period every month called Kemer, and during this period, it's like mating season, once a month, basically. They can temporarily become either male or female, depending on like the context or the situation or their relationships, or it's kind of, anyway, situation dependent. So not every individual person isn't like locked into becoming male or female during Kemer. The same person could be, for instance, female during one period of Kemer and then a couple of months later become male during this period. So there isn't like you can't really predict it. It kind of depends on the context. And so because of this, their culture has evolved differently, and their interactions and their communication style and everything is different because when they're not in Kemer, they lack gender and they lack sex. So the way they interact, Ursula Le Guin is imagining, is just different from the way humans on Earth would interact. So anyway, the novel focuses on Genly, this Earthling person, trying to understand and communicate with the inhabitants of Gethin and trying to like bridge the communication gap, basically. And sometimes he thinks that they agree with something and they really don't, and he can't tell because of the way they communicate. And anyway, it's very interesting. So this is sort of like not a thought experiment exactly, but it's a work of fiction in which Le Guin is imagining what would a society look like if people were genderless. What would evolve differently? What would happen differently? Would people interact differently? Would they treat each other differently? What would this look like? So this novel took off and it became super famous because you can kind of see why, and you can also, I hope now, see why I thought this novel was a perfect fit for the class. I know a lot of people teach it in like gender studies classes, and I happen to really like sci-fi and think it's fun to read. I'm sorry if you don't, but I hope you do, because I don't know. I guess this novel kind of sits at the intersection of my interests. So as you read this week, you're reading the first half of the novel, or you're trying to, consider these things. So how is the culture of Gethin, the planet that doesn't have sex or gender inherently, how is the culture of it different from human culture on Earth? And that can be both like our culture today here, you know, if you think of like a worldwide culture, the way things are, I don't know if there's a worldwide culture. You can consider America if you want to narrow it, I guess. How is our culture different from Gethin's culture? And also how is like the culture Genly is from different from Gethinian culture? What kind of barriers does he encounter when he goes to Gethin and tries to interact with the Gethinians? Can you tell? So anyway, these are some things to consider as you read. The discussion questions are kind of similar to this. And I hope you enjoy this one, and I hope you have a